Hi everybody, we're back to talk about subtracting integers. So let's take a look at our first problem here. It says player 3 goes last in the final round of Zombie Pretzel Attack 2. She loses 500 points when caught by 2 zombie pretzels. What is her new score? And we want to know how many points does she need to catch up to player 1. So if you want to pause the video right now and then do this problem, I'm going to go over the answer right now. Okay, so we have 100 points and player 3 is going to lose 500 points. So if we go back to our number line, okay, and here's 0, we have 100 points. If we're going to count by 100s and we're going to lose 500 points, then we're going to be back at 0, losing 100 points, and then we have to keep going, losing another 1, 2, 3, 4. So we would be at negative 400 points. So our new score would be negative 400. So now we have to figure out how many points do we need to catch up to player 1. And player 1 is at 300 points. So if we go back to our number line, 200, 300, okay, we have to get down here. If we're back at 400, we have to go 400 to get to 0, and then another 300 to make it to player 1. So 400 points plus the 300 points, we would have to earn 700 points to catch up to player 1. Okay. So subtracting integers, let's talk about this example. You have $15 before you spend 8. How much money do you have left? And this is a simple subtraction problem. 15 minus 8 equals 7. But if we look at a number line, take a look at our little man down here. If we were to do a drawing, we are at 15, so that would be equivalent to walking 15 steps forward. And if we're going to spend 8, we have to turn around and go back 8, which would take us back and land at 7. So we would be left at 7. If we look at this slide right here, it's showing us that subtracting 8 is the same as adding the opposite of 8. If I take away 8 and move backward, that would be the same as turning around and moving forward. So the red line is showing that we're turning around, which would be changing the subtraction to adding, and I'm moving forward in the negative direction, which makes the 8 negative 8. So both of these math sentences are equivalent. The one in green should also look familiar to the adding integers that we just talked about. So the subtraction integer questions are really changed over to addition integer questions, and we use those same rules that we just learned. The signs are different, so we would subtract them, 15 minus 8, and get 7. And we would keep the sign of the larger absolute value. The absolute value of 15 is 15. The absolute value of negative 8 is 8. We keep the sign with the 15, which is positive, so the 7 stays positive right here. Okay. Let's take a look at another one. You have $7. You borrow money from a friend to buy a $20 sweater. how much are you in debt? I'm going to move my number line up so you can see it. Okay, so we are going to start at 7, which is right here. So we move forward 7. And we're going to buy a $20 sweater. So that means we are going to turn around and we're going to move backwards the 7 places that we move forward, and we're going to have to move another down to 13 here. So if we look at the next slide, we have our sentence. We have 7. We're taking away 20, which is equal to negative 13. This sentence here is the same. Instead of thinking of moving backwards, if we're thinking about turning around is changing it to adding, and we change the sign on the 20 because we're moving forward in the negative direction. We change it to negative 20. So now we can follow our adding integer rules that we used in the last bunch of videos, and we have a positive 7 and a negative 20, so we subtract. 20 minus 7 is 13, and we keep the sign of the larger absolute value. 20 is the larger absolute value, so we keep it negative. So you can use a number line for the smaller ones. For the smaller problems, use your integer rules for the bigger problems. Let's take a look at the next one. I have a vertical number line this time. I'm going to move it up so you can see it a little better. Okay, which expression does the number line model represent? The blue the blue line here is showing us what we're starting with. The red number line is showing us what we're taking away. So you can pause the video, try this question, pick which number or numbers are equivalent to this drawing, and I'm going to explain it right now. Since the blue line is what we're starting with, we're starting at 2. So all of the choices are starting at 2. So that doesn't really affect any of the answers here. But we're taking away 4. We're going down 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 2, and we're taking away 4. So that means choice 1 would be an expression that represents this diagram. Now, if I change this subtraction problem to addition, I'm going to keep the 2. We are turning around. If I'm taking away 4, I'm turning around, so I'm going to change it to adding. And then moving backward is the same as turning around and moving forward, so it would change the 4 to negative 4. So that means that choice 3 is also represented by this diagram. Both of those expressions are equivalent. So, here's some to practice. I'm going to move it up so you can see it a little better. There we go. Okay, if you want to pause the video and try each of these, change your subtraction integers to adding, and then you have to make sure you change the sign on the second integer. Let's do the first one together, and then you can pause it and try the others, and then I'll go over the answers. Okay, so the first one here is negative 4, take away negative 3. So we have negative 4. If you're going to take away a negative, let's think about what that means. If you're taking away a negative, then it's like it's you're giving it back. So instead of taking away 3, we're taking away a debt. Taking away a debt would be giving it back. So that would be equivalent to keeping, they take away a debt of $3 at the bank, then you get to keep that money. So that would be the same as adding 3. So if I have a debt of 4 and I add 3, then I am left with -1. Go back to your adding integer rules. If I have a negative and a positive, I'm going to subtract the numbers. 4 minus 3 is 1, and I keep the sign of the larger absolute value. So 4 has a larger absolute value, so the sign stays negative. If I think about this in terms of money, if I owed somebody $4 and I had 3, I would be $1 short to pay my friend. Okay, so go ahead and transform each of these into an adding integer sentence, just like I did, and I'll go over these in the next video. Okay? Thanks for watching.